All right, in this video, I'm going to talk about how important it is to have very clear and precise pricing so that you can actually improve your sales process with potential customers and land more jobs. I'm Andrew Latursky with the Ultimate Landscape Academy, and I help hardscape contractors get really clear on their pricing so that they can improve their sales processes and land more jobs. So first things first, I want to talk about why it's important to have clear pricing just from a business side of view. From a business side of view, really clear pricing is important so that you know you can be profitable, right? If you're not tracking your expenses, if you don't have line items broken down on an estimate where you have your overhead covered and all your material and your labor and markup and potential profit, all this stuff in here, then financially your business is going to fail, right? There's no other way around it. That's going to happen. But what I want to talk about in this video and other topics here today is going to be about how it affects your sales process. So when I say sales process, it's actually meeting with customers. It's the phone call when you first get on with them about what kind of project they want to do and booking that consultation. It's showing up on the job or at the potential job site to talk about them with it, providing them an estimate, doing the offer presentation, all that stuff. Okay, that's the process. Not knowing your numbers super clearly leads to a lack of confidence in what you're saying when you convey it to a customer. Being really clear and knowing your numbers well gives you the confidence. When you don't, you lose it. And at the end of the day, customers pick up on that, okay? Especially high value customers, they can tell even on a subconscious level when you're not being completely honest, and it's not necessarily honest to them, but it's honest with yourself. If you say like, hey, here's everything you can do and this is the price to get it done for you, what do you think? If in your mind you don't actually agree that that's the right number, or you're thinking, hey, like maybe I'm making a little extra money, or I'm nervous that I'm gonna lose money, that all comes out in subconscious body language that you can't control. When you are super clear of understanding your numbers, you know without a reasonable doubt, down to the penny, that your estimate that you've created is the hard cost for you to do that job for them. That confidence comes through in your body language, in the way that you speak, in the way that you show up in those offer presentations, and it greatly increases your chance of actually getting a signature on that paper because they can tell the confidence is there. They don't pick up on those kind of like, I don't know, I'm not sure, a little bit of that nervous energy that can come forth. Now, how do we get really clear on these pricing strategies? I've touched on it really briefly with a line by line. I have is what's called the LBLPE method. Okay, this is a line by line pricing estimator, and this is done in a way where every single thing that goes into a project is listed out. Okay, it's on a spreadsheet. It auto-populates the quantities and the prices and gives you a total so that you have that done. It saves a ton of time when it comes to estimating. But when you do it this way and you account for everything that goes into a job, you're accounting for the labor for the excavation, and even before that, the labor to get to the job site. Right? You're accounting for the fuel to get to the job site. You're accounting for linear feet of cutting based on the amount of pavers are going to get cut, or the linear feet of wall that's going in, the amount of geotextile fabric, the amount of geogrid, the amount of clearstone going behind a wall, or the aggregate under a walkway. Again, edging, paver sand, sod, like the list goes on how many things that you can include on one particular job. When you get that clear on it, you can then use that in your sales process as well, right? A homeowner says, or a client says, hey, okay, it's your number, like just curious, how did you come up with that number, right? And they're waiting for your response. If you don't actually know, or you bulk price some of it, you're like, oh, well, we did our math on the square footage and that's, time and material, and that's how it came out. Right? They can tell you're just not certain with your number. But when you say to them, like, listen, we use a line by line pricing estimator to do this, I can show it to you if you're interested, and you pick up your phone and you start scrolling through all the different line items. By the time you get to your fourth or fifth scroll, the homeowner's like, no, okay, wow, you guys really, you make sure everything is accounted for, right? When you can convey that to them, that again sets you aside from the other guy who just did the bulk pricing or who couldn't really give them a good example or answer of how they figured out their numbers. It just instills confidence and trust, and therefore, again, increases your chances of them signing with you. As far as actually using a line-by-line project estimator, we have one. If you're interested, make sure to comment below and let me know. I will send it to you. If you have your own or some sort of software, that works great. But just make sure that it does more than just estimating, that it also has a tracking option in it too, because knowing your numbers is great. great. It will help your sales processes, but tracking them is how you make sure from one job to the next that you're keeping in line. And we talked about that at the beginning, understanding our financial kind of overhead and how we run our business. It's great to know your numbers really good, but if you're losing on every single job you do, even though you calculated stuff properly, because you didn't track, then you have a problem. The last thing that I want to talk about in this is handling objections with a customer in the sales process. So again, I touched base on it really briefly when I talked about showing them and scrolling through. But when a customer comes to you with an objection about price, which by the way happens when you don't discuss price in discovery. Okay, really quick, discovery is a word that we use in our sales. It's when we find out information about the potential customer, what color paver they want, what kind of width of a walkway they want, what's important to them. Like, you're going to get all this information. When do they want it done? If we don't talk about budget then, right, which is one of the things you should talk about in your discovery process, it then comes up as an objection later on, right? Oh, I got your estimate, but I don't know about the price, right? If you've ever had that before, it's because you didn't talk about price early enough, okay? When that comes up, you use my method of scrolling through and showing them how you did it. But more than just that, you need to find out from them what the problem is with the price, okay? It's easy to convey that you're the professional and that you did this line by line pricing and you know exactly what went into it, including your overhead and your profit and all that stuff. But when they then have a problem with the price and for whatever reason that comes up, you need to know what it is. Is it that they don't have the money to spend, or have you just not conveyed the value you're going to give them? And that's what it is. It's actually a value problem, which, to be honest, is mostly what comes up for people. I found very rarely is it ever about the financial objection, like, gun to your head, would you have the money to spend? They'd come up with it, right? It's not about that, it's about value. What they're saying is, what you're promising me, I don't see the value. So you find out from them in that process, like, okay, the number's more than what you were thinking. Just out of curiosity, what were you thinking, right? You may sit back in your chair, give them a second to respond, right? They may come in with a number that's 10, 20, 30% less, whatever it may be. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, well, I can see why my number and what you were thinking are totally different, and that's why you have some hesitation. So with that in mind, the number you were thinking of, that's 5, 10, whatever, 30% less, be like, how did you come up with that number? I'm curious, right? Keep approaching it with this childlike curiosity, and they're going to give you their answer. Let them respond. If they're like, well, I actually had another estimate and it was that much less, well, then we're going to deal with that, right? But if they're like, well, it's just what I was thinking for the cost of this job, be like, cool. Do you have expertise or experience in pricing projects like this? No, right? Start to poke holes at what it is that they, like, their reason. Like, have you done projects like this before? No. So if you don't mind me asking, how did you come up with this number of like what you thought this project was worth? Right? Typically they can't give you a good answer. So at that point in time, you can instruct them about everything that goes into it and ask them if they're interested. Like, if you're interested and you got a little bit of time, do you want to go through our process in a little bit more detail? And I can talk about everything along the way so that you understand a little bit more what goes into the project, so you can understand the value behind it. If that doesn't help you close the job, I don't know what will. But remember that if they say they have a quote from somebody else, then obviously we're not going to get into necessarily how you do the job. We're going to have to tackle that problem, right? Again, this comes down to your numbers. Be like, okay, so the other one came in a lot cheaper from the other company. Fine. Do you mind me asking, are they offering the same thing? Right? The step one, let's compare the two of them. Okay, yeah, they are. The same pavers, the same dimensions, everything else like that. Yeah, they are. This is where you fall back on your estimator again. Be like, listen, I can show you exactly, and you can pull it up again, how much gravel we need, how much this and how much, like, all this stuff I can go through, and I can show you to the penny what this all is. I'm just curious, can the other guy do the same thing? Right? Start to create that reasonable doubt that maybe there's something the other person missed. Like, I don't know who they are. I don't know what kind of work they do, but from my side of things, like, I can show you exactly the cost right here, but can they? And if they can't, and they're forgetting things, does that mean that they're either cutting corners, they're going to come back to you later with more expenses? I don't know. Okay, this all comes into it at the end of the day. Lastly, I want to say on this whole topic is that if you found this useful and you were thinking about expanding your business this season, or even just trying to figure out your numbers yourself, not quite sure how to calculate, say, like overhead, or understand what your net profit margins are, or just how to actually increase your sales to get more projects and therefore increase your revenue, then click the link in the description below and book an intro call. You'll get to talk one-on-one with me. I'll ask you some questions about your business and find out whether or not this kind of program and my coaching coaching could be right for you. And if you like more videos like this and information on growing your business this season, go ahead and click that subscribe button below so you'll be updated each and every time we launch a new video.